Dear listeners, welcome back to another brand new story, so let's dive in. My girlfriend told me that she had treating our 3-year relation as a bet and just a game. For that, I made my last move and left her sobbing. I, 26M, grew up in a small town just a bit outside of a mid-sized city. Nothing exciting about my early life. Dad has been working in construction for what seems like centuries. Mom works part-time at a local grocery store, and we were a pretty close, no-frills family. Money was tight, but we lived. They always hammered that loyalty's worth more than shiny stuff. I played street ball with friends, wasted countless days at the arcade, hang out a few games of billiards, and then gotten a reasonably okay warehouse job right after high school. Dream job or not, it paid the bills while I figured out my next path. Anyway, 3 years ago I began seeing this girl I thought was my perfect match. Let's call her my girlfriend. She and I met at this karaoke bar where my friend dragged me just to break my routine of gaming at home every weekend. I ended up singing some heinous song from the 90s, like truly atrocious, but there she was, smiling so brightly, genuinely like I was a rock star. She teased me about my offbeat singing on the way up, and after that we kind of hit it off over drinks. We swapped numbers, and that's how it all started. After that, it was just a whirlpool. We had those late night corny texting sessions, stole lunches during my warehouse breaks, watched whatever random movie, and it just felt so natural that I found myself divulging family tales, work-related musings, and the struggle of stagnancy in a job that promised little in terms of progress. She was really genuinely curious. She shared dreams of her own, and explained that she was saving to open a small business. That was inspiring to me, someone with ambition, a plan, and confidence. I was genuinely into it. My parents met her a few months in and were smitten with her. My mother was always saying, "You found a keeper and treat her right." And of course I believed her every word. During most of our 3 years together, it kind of felt like we were on the same wavelength. Sure, those niggling little red flags popped up. She'd misplaced her phone obsession for texting or had odd little smiles for what had popped up. Sometimes I would catch her and her friend throwing each other's surreptitious looks or cracking cryptic jokes together, but I put that down to silly friends pulled together by a clique. She had this clique of friends who seemed a little cliquish, but nobody was openly mean to me, at least not to my face. My best friend, who has known me since we were kids, once said to me, "Dude, her friends are kind of fishy, you sure it's cool?" I didn't find any big issues, so I brushed it aside. Last year changes everything. Her phone secrecy became bigger and bigger. She would go outside to take calls, especially if I was there. And I would gently ask her, "Hey, what is going on?" She acted with annoyance, as though I was prying, and said something about it just being a group chat and it was no big deal. The weird part is when she sometimes brought up that other friends were dating guys who were loaded, saying that she felt as though she was falling behind. I remember thinking, did she think that I was just not earning enough? But whenever I talked about it with her, she'd tell me to stop reading too much into it. She's just letting off steam, you know. A little over 6 months ago, again she started talking about future seriously, insisting it was about time to take the relationship to the next serious level. She would comment things like, "When are you planning to step it up a notch?" Or, "Aren't we overdue for something bigger?" I took those comments rather normally. Since we had been together for a decent time span, probably she now wanted to get married or move in with her. But everything seemed off about her tone, as though she were more interested in the optics of a serious relationship than the relationship itself. Expensive dinners or weekend vacations to high-priced venues became almost mandatory strings for her. I did try to make her happy as much within the limits, but with my warehouse salary, it would be way taxing on me. She'll shoot those disappointed looks at me that stab my pride. Then there was a moment she actually told me, "I'm not getting any younger, and neither are you," and it felt bordering on threateningly, like saying that I'd lose her if I didn't up my game before I knew it. I wanted to work on it more, but she would change the subject every time I got too deep. The most apparent sign that things were wrong came about a week ago during my father's birthday dinner. It was mostly a simple affair at my parents' house. My mother baked a hefty meal, and what we wanted was a quiet and intimate evening. My girlfriend showed up dressed like she was going to a VIP club. Gorgeous she was. But she barely said anything to my parents, found time to play around with her phone. Then, right before my father blew out his birthday candles, she got a text and went outside for nearly 10 minutes. It was painfully awkward. After dessert, my mother pulled me aside, concerned that my girlfriend seemed distant and possibly disrespectful. I felt defensive at first, but deep down I knew my mother was right. Something was up and I couldn't ignore it anymore. That night, I confronted her at my place. I tried to be chill, just asked, "Look, is there anything you want to tell me?" What's with the phone stuff? She clammed up, then got snappy, so I dropped it to avoid a fight, but my gut was screaming that she was hiding something huge. The next day she texted saying we needed to talk in person. I cleared my schedule, bracing for whatever was coming. She showed up, sat on my couch, and said she had something important to get off her chest. I was mentally preparing for a breakup or maybe news that she was moving away, but she dropped something way more messed up. She basically said she never expected our relationship to last so long, because I was originally just part of a bet, a freaking game her friend group was playing to see if she could make a normal average guy fall head over heels. She told me she had pegged me as some naive dude from the start, and her friends thought it'd be hilarious if she'd reel me in for a short fling. But I was, in her words, surprisingly sweet and eager, so she stuck around longer than planned. I felt my brain short-circuit. I remember staring at her, not even finding the words to respond for a few seconds. Eventually I managed to say, "Are you serious right now?" She shrugged, looking annoyed that I was freaking out. She said she didn't think it would hurt me so bad because, hey, it turned into something real for a while. Then, like a switch, she shifted the blame onto me for getting too attached. She also griped about how she thought I'd eventually make more money or treat her to a lavish lifestyle, but it never happened, so that was apparently my fault too. She even said she lost the bet, because I hadn't proposed or made a big financial commitment in the time frame her friends set. I was floored. I'd spent 3 years imagining a future with this person, while she was counting points on some twisted scoreboard. She tried to justify it. I didn't plan for it to go this far, but life's complicated. My friends dared me. I went with it and here we are. Chill out. My emotions swung between shock, sadness, and outright fury. I asked her to leave, but she wouldn't, saying she needed to collect her stuff and that we should keep talking. I straight up told her to pack her things immediately. She hurled insults, calling me childish and telling me to man up. I lost it and started yelling for her to get out. She finally stormed out, slamming my door. That moment I felt sick to my core, but also a weird sense of relief. At least the mask was off. The next day was a haze. My phone kept lighting up with her messages, but I ignored them. I told my father and mother the truth, and they were furious on my behalf. My father gave me this piece of advice he always does: never let anyone walk all over you. If they do it once, they'll do it forever. My best friend came by with a six-pack and we talked it through. He admitted he'd heard rumors that her circle was super toxic, but he never had solid proof. He apologized for not telling me sooner, but at least it confirmed my gut feeling. I've been a sucker for a messed up scheme. I checked my finances and credit, half expecting I'd find something worse, but there was no sign she'd stolen money or opened accounts in my name. That was a massive relief. She was manipulative, but apparently not a full-blown thief. Still, I wanted her to pay in some way, at least to feel the humiliation she dumped on me. After all, she prance around with her friends, mocking me behind my back. I was determined to set the record straight. A few days later, my friend told me that my girlfriend and her crew were throwing a birthday bash for one of their pals at a fancy lounge downtown. Since my friend knew a bouncer there, I could get in. My first instinct was to avoid the place like the plague. But then I thought, no, I'm not going to hide and let her twist the story. I wanted to face her and her entire circle head-on. So I spent the week collecting old texts and screenshots showing how she used to talk about our future, how she'd paint this picture of us being an amazing couple, basically to prove she was full of crap if she tried to lie about me being the problem. When I showed up at that lounge with a couple of buddies for moral support, she spotted me across the room and gave me a death stare. I walked right up to her, ignoring the dirty looks from her friends. People were watching us, probably sensing major drama. In a loud, steady voice I said something like, "So you gonna tell them how I was just a bet for the last 3 years? Or should I do it?" The music was pumping, but our little crowd went silent. I could see some of her friends go pale because they knew exactly what I was referring to. She hissed at me to be quiet, trying to look unbothered, like I was the psycho ex crashing her night. But I didn't hold back. I said, "You told me to my face that I was part of a game you lost. 3 years. You bragged about how easy I was to manipulate. You think you can just leave me looking like a fool?" She tried to laugh it off, claiming I was lying because I was pathetic and clingy. That's when I played a short audio recording I'd secretly taken during our confrontation. We're in a one-party consent state, so I was good legally. The audio snippet had her admitting she never planned on staying with me and that it was all a bet. People around us gasped. Some of her friends started whispering, a couple of them stepping back like they wanted no part of the drama. She lunged at me, screaming to turn it off, but I pulled away. Security came over and I let them know I was leaving. I said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Next time you decide to toy with someone's life for a bet, remember how it feels to be exposed." Then I walked out. My heart was hammering, but I can't lie. It felt incredible to see her so rattled and publicly humiliated for what she did. One of her buddies actually followed me outside saying, "Dude, I had no idea it was that deep." "I'm so sorry." I just gave a half smile and told him to be careful who he trusts in that circle. I expected it to end there, but she bombarded my phone with threats the next day. She said she'd sue me for defamation, that I had no right to record her. She even said she'd claim I was abusive. That's when I hit up a lawyer acquaintance my father knew from construction projects. He told me not to worry. Defamation wouldn't stick when I have her literal words as proof. And the recording was legal because I was part of the conversation. He also said if she tried claiming abuse, we'd count her with a text and call she'd sent me after the breakup. She had no real case. Armed with this info, I texted her one final time. "I have all your threats documented, so back off or I'll see you in court." Then I blocked her everywhere. Naturally, word of our blow-up spread through mutual acquaintances. She tried painting me as some vengeful jerk, but people saw my receipts. Some even reached out, apologizing for not warning me about her manipulative streak sooner. She also tried calling my mother, sobbing about how I'd ruined her reputation. My mother told her to never call again, reminding her that she caused her own downfall by playing games with my life. That was the last time she tried contacting my family. I found out she started losing hours at her boutique job because coworkers and customers didn't want to be around her toxicity. She'd alienated a lot of people, and her so-called best friends were now wary of her. I guess if you're cold-hearted enough to turn a real relationship into a game, no one feels safe around you. She tried spinning a sob story claiming I was broke or not ambitious enough, but that didn't change the fact that she admitted to using me as a pawn. Looking back, I'm angry at myself for being so blind, but I'm also proud that I stood up for myself in the end. It took a bombshell revelation to light a fire under me. I've been focusing on myself since then, hanging out with old friends, looking at better job opportunities, and just doing stuff that makes me happy. My father keeps telling me, "You survived this." Now I am higher and trust people who truly care. Good advice, I think. Sometimes I still get a knot in my stomach remembering how fake our entire relationship was. 3 years is a long damn time to be someone's clown. But hey, if there's a silver lining, it's that I learned how to set boundaries and defend them. And if my story helps anyone out there see red flags earlier, I'll call that a win. Don't ignore your gut. Don't let anyone guilt trip you into feeling like you're inadequate, and definitely don't let them reduce your relationship to a sick bet. If someone's trifling enough to play with your heart that way, hit back with the truth. Let them scramble to handle the consequences of their own BS. So yeah, that's how my 3-year relationship went down in flames. She admitted she never cared from the start, turned me into her personal project to impress her equally messed up friends, and nearly got away with it if she hadn't confessed. But now she's left with a trashed reputation, and I'm free of the toxic crap. I've blocked her everywhere, and trust me, I'm not losing any sleep over it. If she tries more stunts, I've got the legal backup to shut it down fast. My advice to anyone dealing with manipulative partners? Stand your ground and remember you're not to blame for someone else's twisted games. I may have fallen for her lies, but in the end, I made sure she paid the price. And it's one hell of a relief to know I'm finally done with her. Here's to moving on with my life stronger and smarter than before. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. We'll catch you in the next video.